a meeting of the Judicial Council of Georgia in general session. As some reminders, if you're a guest to the meeting, if you can send a reply email to the address that's up on your screen, rsvp@georgiacourts.com, so we have an accurate count. The meeting is being recorded in live stream and is open to the press and public. If you're not speaking, if you can mute your device to limit background noise. And then during voting, we will ask for opposition only to make it easier to track the votes. And if you're having any problems hearing things, you have any other technical issues, if you can email Tracy Mason or Cheryl Coronas. We're going to start. I want to welcome one special guest today. Lynmore Nelson is the new executive director of ICJE. She began on January 16th. And we are very glad to have her on board. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If I can call on Judge Quinn Kasper to lead us, please.
Thank you, Chief. I'd be happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Judge Kasper. Ms. Clanton, do you have the roll call or do you need to check on any other names?
Did Judge Arthur Smith join us? And Judge Jadonna Baker.
Okay, with
Thank
those.
Ready to move forward.
Thank you. Our first action item is approval of the minutes of the December 10, 2021 general session. The minutes are in your materials behind tab 1. Could I have, is there any discussion or concern about any part of the minutes? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objection to adoption of the minutes of the December 10, 2021 meeting? Okay, the minutes will stand approved. The next item are Judicial Council Committee reports. Let me first call on my colleague, Presiding Justice Boggs, to update us on the ARPA Funding Committee. Justice Boggs, and then actually you can just go directly into the Legislation Committee, which he also chairs.
All right, thank you, Chief, and good morning, everyone. You'll find the materials for the ARPA funding update behind tab 2 in your binders. As I reported to you at the January 7 emergency session that the committee met on December 20th and awarded in round 1 of year 1, $24.8 million in funding to 26 judicial circuits. The AOC is in the process now of receiving reimbursement requests for those grant awards and is working with OPB to move those awards more fully forward. The $24.8 million that was awarded in round 1 of year 1 amounted to 52% of the total amount that the committee elected to allocate in year 1, which was a total amount of $48 million. So we roughly now have $23 million in funds to award for the current and next cycles for calendar year 22 funding. The AOC ARPA fiscal team is working closely with circuits on the implementation of the awards and the reimbursement process, which began on February 1st for expenses that were incurred in January. The second application process took place January 1 through January 18. During that period of time, a total of 24 applications were received. 14 circuits submitted new applications for funding. 9 circuits submitted applications to amend a current award, and 1 circuit resubmitted a previously deferred application. So we obviously, from the end of that open period, AOC has been working diligently to do their due diligence to review all of the legal parameters of the applications that have been submitted. They have been working diligently with the applicants to ensure that their applications are ready for presentment to the committee. The committee will next meet on Friday, the 18th, to make award decisions for funding and expenses effective March 1st. Those awards will be announced following the meeting, including by press release. I will remind the Judicial Council that the committee is also expected, in addition to meeting for awards, I also expect that the committee will be meeting in March and probably August for administrative matters, and those details are forthcoming. As a reminder, circuits and stakeholders should continually and regularly refer to the website for the most current and updated documents at any time, including at the start of any new application cycle, as the application process remains fluid as we continue to get information and work with OPB to clear up questions that our circuits and applicants are presenting to us. We would expect to post updates to the frequently asked questions following next week's meeting. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can direct those to the ARPA grants team at arpa@georgiacourts.gov, or contact me or Director Cynthia Clanton or Tracy Mason directly. The rest of the report is contained behind tab 2. I will now move at the direction of the chief to a report as chair of the Legislation Committee of the Judicial Council. You'll find those materials included behind tab 3 of your materials. I'd like to highlight that the Judicial Council's petition for review legislation was filed as House Bill 916 by Representative Rob Leverett, and it's been assigned to House Judiciary Committee. After an extensive subcommittee hearing on February 1st, a new substitute we understand is being finalized to include some friendly amendments. We expect it will be considered by the full House Judiciary Committee next week. I want to particularly say thank you to Presiding Judge McFadden, Judge Gary Jackson, Judge Margaret Washburn, and Judge Michael Barker, and the interested practitioners, all who testified in support of the bill and lended their expertise, not only then, but throughout this process. The rest of the written report lists the items the council has taken a position in support on, and we continue to monitor those bills and will update you as necessary. A couple of notes of particular attention that I want to bring to you, and that is that the provisions that were originally filed as House Bill 662, which dealt with surety bonds, has been refiled as House Bill 1183. It is sponsored by Representative Stan Gunner, and the Council of Superior Court Judges is working with him on that bill. It received a subcommittee hearing in the House Judiciary Committee non-civil this week. And I also want to bring to your attention that, as we discussed in December, the amendments that were formerly in the bill relative to 17631E, which dealt with the time within which a defendant could be tried before surety could be released, will be dropped. But we'll move forward with cleanup and clarifying language in 17672, which is the general cleanup language for release of sureties. If Judge Wong is with us, he could speak if he has any. I would refer to him if he has any other updates. Next, you there, Judge Wong?
Yes, sir. You correctly stated the legislation. Nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate your help along the way. Next, for status reports, I want to let you know that the Judicial Council recommendations for Superior Court judgeships from the JWAC committee are out. The top 3 ranked judgeships recommended by the Judicial Council have legislation filed, and those are moving through the process. Briefly, I will tell you that the Blue Ridge Circuit, which is House Bill 56, passed the House this week and has crossed over. House Bill 624 is the bill that would add a judgeship to the South Georgia Judicial Circuit. That too has passed the House last week and therefore crossed over. And lastly, Senate Bill 395, which is the Mountain Judicial Circuit bill, is awaiting a hearing in Senate Judiciary Committee. In addition, one additional item of interest that I'd mention very briefly is Senate Bill 359, which the Judicial Council has not taken a position on. Senate Bill 359 is the legislation that resulted from the public safety hearings that have been held in the off season. Many of you participated in many of those hearings. It received 2 hearings in Senate Judiciary this week. We're going to continue to monitor that bill and address any issues that may be addressed. I personally have been contacted by accountability court judges concerned about some of the language in the bill relative to accountability courts. I've had the opportunity to speak to the primary sponsor of that bill, and we're going to continue to work with them. And I think that will continue to show promise. Crossover Day, just to remind everyone, is Legislative Day 28. Right now, that is scheduled for Monday, March 15th. And Sine Die, Day 40, is now scheduled to be Monday, April the 4th. So, Chief, that's my report. Happy to answer any questions on either of those reports if any of the members have any.
Are there any questions about either the ARPA Funding Committee or the Legislation Committee at this point? Okay, thank you, Presiding Justice Boggs. We'll move on to a report from the Budget Committee, Justice Bethel.
Thank you, Chief. Primarily, just direct everyone's attention to tab 4 for the full layout of where we are in the budget, but give everybody a quick update of recent activities. This past Thursday, the House Appropriations Committee voted out the amended fiscal year 22 budget. For those keeping score at home, that's House Bill 910. The House agreed with all of the requests that the Judicial Council placed before it, including restoration of funds for the Judicial Council's primary budget, and then the budgets for the Council of Magistrate Court judges, Council of Probate Court judges, which were all included in the governor's recommendations. They then also added, per our request, the funding for restoration of funds for the Council of Accountability Court judges. We expect that the House will take up that for a vote this morning. They may, I don't know what time they went in this morning, they may already have. And then we will be before the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Monday evening at 5 p.m. I know several of us will be there and hope to continue to update you as the process moves forward.
Are there any questions for Justice Bethel about the budget process at this point? Okay. Justice Bethel, do you want to introduce the new Chief Budget Officer for the Judicial Council?
I would love to. Thank you. Yeah, I wish I'd made notes because he's fantastic, but I'll just say this. Andrew Zoll is our new budget director and comes to us from the Senate Budget Office. And I will note that his experience there should be of value not only to the Judicial Council, but all of our sort of associated agencies and groups and courts and councils. I encourage you all to take the opportunity to consult with Andrew if you're having trouble understanding the budgeting process or questions that you are getting from appropriators. He has been on the front lines in that venue for several years now. In fact, he was the analyst when I chaired a subcommittee of the Appropriations Committee in the Senate several years ago. Andrew, I don't know if Andrew's on and can wave at everyone, but I don't want to. Maybe you want to stay incognito. But Andrew Zoll is a great addition to us, so I'm glad to have him.
Thank you, Justice Bethel, and welcome, Andrew. We're glad to have you on board. I'll take this opportunity to apologize to the legislature for bringing him over, but I think it's a great opportunity for him and for us, and really will help us understand and move forward in the budget process. We'll move on to a report on the Judicial Workload Assessment Committee. Chief Judge Rob Leonard, and we have some action items in this report as well. Judge Leonard. See it.
Muted, Rob.
There you go.
You're muted, Judge Leonard.
Sorry. You would think I have, of all people, would have had that figured out by now. I must have clicked it twice. So anyway, thank you. I've just put a link in the chat for the supplemental materials, because I'm not sure if the supplemental is going to be in tab 5 where the rest of your materials are. The reason that there's a link to that is because I convened a special called meeting of JWAC last week in an effort to clean up a few definitions that I felt like were important to do before our time and motion study that is coming up in March. So I will summarize those for you. There are just some really small changes. The first of which Judge Emerson already presented to you all last time. There was an addition of a serious felony for our case count purposes that was approved, and that is home invasion in the first degree. So we have added that to the list of serious felonies for case count purposes. Number 2, there is a modification of custody. We have changed that from just modification to modification of custody because in the domestic category, that is where we find the most contentious litigation that we have. Very few of those cases settle, and they all tend to be longer and more hotly contested pieces of litigation. So we wanted to make sure we were capturing the time that the judges spend on that, and that we didn't have that category watered down with potential like modifications of child support. And modifications of child support end up showing up in various different categories among our definitions and what we count. And so you get child support in paternity, you get them in legitimation, you get it in divorce, you get it in the 4D child support, and there's also the private child support category, which is where the committee believes that belongs. And so we've changed that modification definition ever so slightly. And we've also changed the support definition to go along with it. It used to just say cases filed to request maintenance. Now it says to request or modify maintenance. So making it clear that child support modifications fall under that private child support category in that definition. Those cases are sort of rare. They usually are coupled with another kind of case, as you know. And then we also added stalking, the family violence protective order. We've added the stalking to that definition to make it clear that both of those different types of protective orders need to get counted under that category. That was the recommendation of the committee. I hope you'll consider that to be a motion from the committee and take action on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Leonard. Is there any discussion of any of these proposals? Okay, then we have a motion from the committee that I'll put to a vote. Is there anyone opposed to making these amendments and revisions to the 2022 Guide on Statistical Reporting for Workload Assessment? All right, they will be approved. Thank you, Judge Leonard, for your work and your committee's work in this area. And my understanding is these will be effective prospectively after today. Is that right?
That's correct. We're not asking anybody to go back and change old case counts based on these slight definition changes. These will be going forward. I would like to just reiterate to everybody here, there are a lot of judges on the call. It's important that we have high participation in the time and motion study. I hope that you will recommend in your sphere of influence of your judges that they will participate. I have recorded a session for the Superior Court Judges Winter Conference that went out in the plenary sessions to serve to educate our judges about the process and hopefully make their data better. I would ask that the 10 administrative judges that are on here, if you all have any meetings in the month of February before this time and motion study gets going, please get me an invitation. I would love to reach out to your judges that attend that meeting and to help educate them on this process. So thank you all.
Thank you. And I'll reiterate that. I mean, the time and motion study is the basis for the workload assessment process. And the better our data is and the more we can say that it is reflective of the work being done by judges, the better and stronger our recommendations to the General Assembly about adding additional judgeships. So, you know, it may seem kind of bureaucratic and you don't want to do it, but it really has big effects in the long run for the ability to properly staff our courts across the state. Let's move on to the Technology Committee report. Judge Kelly, are you on to give us
I am.
report if you have any status updates as well?
Absolutely. Mr. Chief Justice, Judicial Council Standing Committee on Technology met on January the 13th. We had a good meeting. We submitted a report, but in addition to that report, I just want to add that we are making good progress. I know the court is very concerned about standardization of file format. Mr. Luke has been working on that. That subcommittee's been working on that, and hope that we'll have some results here this next couple meetings to finalize some stuff on that. Also, we have talked about, of course, there's some standard stuff that the committee does on keeping up with the gateway, the portal for the AOC. But of course, we also have a part of a subcommittee on automated data collection. And that's going along. But we also are monitoring Senate Bill 441, which is a bill that Senator Hatchett, who is a member now of the Judicial Council Standing Committee on Technology, he's and other senators have filed a bill dealing with criminal case data exchange, moving it from we're monitoring that and discussions with them reference that. And so that moves the criminal case data exchange board over to the Council of Superior Court Clerks. We're in process of talking with them on that because obviously collection of good data, we're concerned about it. That's why we have the subcommittee on automated data collection. And so also we want to, in the technology committee, we talked about moving forward, having more of an education function that we could, be able to provide best practices in the area of technology and security, much like we've done with the COVID, but have some good resources out there for all our courts to follow. And because certainly security is an issue constantly. And we need to basically be able to provide our judges and courts the best practices. So we're working on being able to provide that. That's the report I have.
Thank you, Judge Kelly. Are there any questions about the Technology Committee's work? I appreciate what you're doing. And we'll move on to our final Judicial Council Committee report from the COVID-19 Task Force. Chief Judge McClellan.
Yes, good morning, Chief Justice. Thank you. We will stand on our written report. Just a couple of things to add. Our next task force meeting, full task force meeting, will be on February the 16th. We've had at least 2 of our working groups on the pandemic book revision meet, and we're making good progress there. And we appreciate the new members to the committee or to the task force that have been appointed or have come on as replacing other members. And last, just to thank you, Chief Justice, for your remarks recognizing the work of the task force during your State of the Judiciary address to the legislature. That is our report.
Thank you, Judge McClellan. I know one of the new members we appointed, Judge Whitaker. Appreciate her willingness to serve and appreciate y'all's continued work to provide guidance in this area. We're going to move on. We're going to make this a pretty quick meeting, I think. And so we'll move directly on to reports from a report from the Judicial Council. If you're ready to go, Ms. Clanton.
I am. Thank you, Chief. Justices, judges, and judicial branch leaders. First, let me congratulate Chief Justice Namias on his State of the Judiciary address, highlighting the extraordinary efforts of judges and their staff to keep the courts open and ensure access to justice. Staying with your baseball theme, Chief, I think it was a home run. I'm happy to report that the AOC remains fully functional, open, and ready to serve you. As you can see in this picture, we're especially busy in late December when the annual caseload initiation and the first round of ARPA award letters went out in the mail the same day. Our ARPA team continues to support the important work of the Judicial Council's ad hoc committee on ARPA funding chaired by Presiding Justice Boggs. We added Mark Williams to our ARPA fiscal team, and many of you may remember Mark from his previous service as the CFO for the Prosecuting Attorneys Council. And also back in the day, Mark served as the AOC's budget director. So we're glad to work with our talented colleague again. Please continue to check our ARPA website for updated information and join our ARPA email list, which will alert you to grant cycles, judicial branch ARPA jobs, and give general updates. The Judicial Council held an emergency session on January 7th to address the Omicron surge. During that session, Chief Justice Namias stressed the importance of measured responses to COVID outbreaks and, if needed, encouraged the use of carefully tailored local orders. If you're faced with this issue in the future, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. You may see examples of such orders on our website, so we post all orders that we receive. The Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency, GEMA, recently requested the judiciary's participation in an effort to renew Georgia's emergency preparedness plan for natural disasters, civil unrest, pandemics, and cyber attacks. The statewide continuity plan described in the displayed FEMA circular will include all 3 branches of government. As a judiciary, we unfortunately have some experience and resulting plans in some of these areas, like the pandemic bench book being updated by the Judicial COVID-19 Task Force. The Chief Justice is considering GEMA's request, so stay tuned for future details. The 2022 legislation opened on Monday, January 10th, and our legislative team is working hard to support the Judicial Council Standing Committee on Legislation. Robert Aycock with our office will continue to send legislative updates via email on Fridays throughout the session. You may track specific bills by visiting legislationgeorgiacourts.gov. We have transitioned to a new tracking tool this year, so please let our team know what you think. Court of Appeals Presiding Judge Christopher McFadden and AOC Assistant General Counsel Darren Enns recently testified in support of House Bill 916, a bill proposed by the Judicial Council to enact the Superior and State Court Appellate Practice Act, which would simplify and streamline the process of appealing a dispute to superior or state courts from a lower adjudicatory body. Or as Judge McFadden aptly put it at the hearing, to bring that procedure into the mid-20th century. In support of the Judicial Council Strategic Plan Objective Number 4, to enhance the professional and ethical image of the judiciary through community engagement, the AOC focuses on 3 civic holidays: Constitution Day in September, Bill of Rights Day in December, and Law Day in May. In honor of Bill of Rights Day this year, our communications team asked Judicial Council members from every class of court to record a video of themselves reading one of the 10 amendments that comprise the Bill of Rights. Those videos were then compiled and animated in collaboration with a graphic designer to create a video which may be found on our georgiacourtsjournal.org website under our civics page. We shared that video widely with educators and the general public to positive reviews and good press. Thank you to all the judges who set their own cameras up to videotape themselves for the civics education effort. For Law Day this year, we're planning an art contest, and some of you may remember it from the past, in which students across the state will be invited to submit artwork capturing this year's Law Day theme, which is Toward a More Perfect Union, the Constitution in Times of Change. And on February 2nd, we celebrated World Read Aloud Day with a virtual event featuring Fulton County Chief Magistrate Court Judge Cassandra Kirk, reading the books Tomorrow I'll Be Kind and What a Citizen Can Do to second graders at Medlock Bridge and Manning Oaks Elementary Schools. Chief Judge Kirk was a hit with the students and teachers alike. And later this month, we look forward to being an in-kind sponsor for the Georgia Bar, Media, and Judiciary Conference on February 23rd and 25th. With the new year, we welcome new judicial partner leaders and AOC senior staff. I extend a warm welcome to the talented Lynn Moore Nelson, who is the new Executive Director for ICJE in Athens. Lynn has many years of experience in public service, so we look forward to supporting our sister agencies serving the judiciary. And I'm pleased again to share that Andrew Zoll joined the AOC as our Chief Budget Officer. And as you heard, Andrew spent many years at the Georgia Senate Budget Office, and I'm very sorry about inconveniencing the Senate with the timing of our hire of this talented employee. And other staff news, longtime AOC staffer Michelle Barkley is currently serving on a grand jury. As featured in our public service campaign last year, Michelle is living out the Judicial Council's call that justice needs jurors. Since December, the AOC fit in some essential training to help us do our jobs better. For example, our AOC IT staff recently conducted security awareness training, boasting a 100% completion rate by all AOC staff. And AOC staff also received media training from a well-respected Atlanta media relations professional, Rachel Tobin, who provided tips on preparing for an interview with the media. We thank Judicial Council members Quinn Kasper and Chief Judge Asha Jackson, who spoke at our virtual all-staff meetings in December and January, respectively. Judges, your public service and remarks engaged the AOC, and I appreciate the time you spent with us. As usual, my director's report would not be complete without our judicial branch babies. First, we have AOC's General Counsel, Jessica Farah. This is her little daughter, Lottie. Up next is AOC Budget Directors Andrew Zoll's first child, son Lane. and the Council Superior Court Judge's General Counsel, Natasha McDonald. This is her second daughter, little Cecilia. What a cutie. The AOC is a service agency for Georgia's judges and a statewide resource. We exist to serve you, the members of the Judicial Council, and our partners. As always, please call on me anytime to support the important work you do each day to improve justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clanton, for all the work that you and AOC does to support the Judicial Council and judges around the state. We'll move on to reports from courts, councils, and the state bar. The Supreme Court's report is in your materials, and I just want to add my thanks for the support and the information you provided for use in the state of the judiciary. We tried to highlight both the great creative work that you're doing to deal with the pandemic and the challenges we have with backlogs and trying to keep people safe. And I express my appreciation for all of you for your work doing that. It is hard work. It's unfortunately going to be continuing for a while, but it's also inspirational to people who understand the challenges faced by our courts. The Court of Appeals report, Chief Judge Rickman.
Mr. Chief Justice, we have nothing to add to our written report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge Rickman. Statewide Business Court, Judge Davis.
Chief Justice, nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. The Council of Superior Court Judges, Judge Paget.
Chief Justice, we're going to rely upon our submitted report, but I do want to say on behalf of all of our Superior Court judges and likely all the judges of all the different classes of court across Georgia, we want to personally thank you for both the tone and the content of your State of the Judiciary presentation. Occasionally, we struggle with explaining to the legislature and to members of the public what we do and how we do it and why it's hard during COVID. I hate to admit that in 2022, some of our highest level decisions are based upon rumor, misunderstandings, anecdotes, and not upon true information. And you helped. Your presentation made us both proud and made us allow some of that truth to be told and introduced into that conversation. Your office reached out to many of us and gathered some true information, some stories, some experiences, and you were able to relate that. That took a lot of work. And you helped us get a voice that sometimes we don't always feel like we have. And so I wanted to tell you, thank you. We don't say thank you often enough. We tell you what we need, but we don't always double back and say thank you. So on behalf of all Superior Court judges in Georgia, I wanted to say personally and very directly, thank you for your presentation. That's all.
Thank you, Judge Paget. That means, it really does mean a lot to me. Judge Wong, Council of State Court Judges.
Chief Justice, we will rely on our written report, and I want to join Judge Paget in his comments and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. Council of Juvenile Court Judges, Judge Greg Price.
Mr. Chief Justice, we'll stand on the written report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Council of Probate Court Judges, Judge Lakes.
We'll stand on our written report, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you. Council of Magistrate Court Judges, Judge Kasper.
Thank you, Chief. We will also stand on our written report, and I will also join in with my other presidents in expressing thanks for your service. We all enjoyed your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Duff, Council of Municipal Court Judges.
Good morning. Thank you. I would like to thank Judge Jadania Baker. She is our president-elect for her role on the ARPA committee. We'd also like to inform the council that we are monitoring some legislation. The CERT bill, of course, is gaining traction. We already spoke about that, and we'd like to thank our judges, Gary Jackson and Margaret Washburn, for their assistance with that bill and their willingness to testify. Our own bill, House Bill 1275, sponsored by Representative Bonnie Rich, has been dropped, and it is now House Judiciary Committee. We're waiting for hearings on that one. And we would like to welcome the new ICJE director, Lynn Moore Nelson. I had the pleasure of meeting her the other day, and it looks like we're going to have a great collaboration with her. So thank you, everybody, for all your hard work. And that's it for the municipal court judges.
Thank you, Judge Duff. President Fight, State Bar of Georgia.
Good morning, Chief, and like everyone else, congrats on a successful State of the Judiciary address. We will also rest on our report. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to reports from judicial branch agencies. Taylor Jones for the Council of Accountability Court Judges.
Good morning. CACJ is going to stand on our written report, but we also want to take this time to express our appreciation for being recognized in and supported by the State of the Judiciary address. Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Tracy Johnson, the Commission on Dispute Resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. We are going to stand on our written report. Thank you.
Thank you. The Council of Superior Court Clerks, Ms. Robinson or Mr. Holloman.
Chief, this is Mike Holloman. Like the Judicial Council, we are in the middle of the legislative session, and is referenced by Judge Kelly earlier. Senate Bill 441 has certainly gained our attention. I think we'll continue to work with the backers of that legislation to hopefully find solutions to the case disposition backlog, and we'll work, keep y'all apprised of what we hear along the way. That's all of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Holloman. Ms. Greer, the Council on Professionalism, Commission on Professionalism.
Hi, good morning, Chief Justice. I want to join everyone in congratulating you on a very well done, your first State of the Judiciary. And we will stand on our written report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Ansley, the President-elect of the Council on Court Administrators.
Yes, we're preparing for our first conference in a couple of years, which will take place in March, and we have nothing additional to report.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson, ICJE.
Good morning, and thank you all for the warm welcome. We'll stand by our written report.
All right, and thank you and welcome again. And Mr. Boring, the JQC.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Nothing new to report.
Thank you. Is there any old or new business for the council to discuss? And then I'll conclude again by thanking you all for the work you do for Georgia and our citizens every day. Our next general session meeting, and hopefully our next meeting, if we don't have to have an emergency meeting, is scheduled for April 22nd. And in person, I'll look forward to seeing most of you in person. And it will be our first meeting ever at the new Nathan Deal Judicial Center. I say new, we actually recognize that yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of the building's dedication, but many of you have not had the chance to see the building. So we will have our meeting there, and we'll also make sure that people have the opportunity to tour around if you haven't seen the building. And with that, I will adjourn our meeting until April 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you all.